have a very talk about a very important or have a very important conversation. My name is Namdi. Have I said that before? I feel like I've said that before. I feel like I've said that, but hey, you can I can say that over and over again. Welcome to another episode of Thriving Beyond Borders with Namdi. And today I'll be speaking on an important topic: how African immigrants can promote dignity in their daily lives. How can we promote, maintain dignity in our daily um, lives? That is the topic of my conversation today. If you haven't met me, I am the founder and CEO at here at the African Immigrant Collective. We are a non-profit organization that is creating an ecosystem for African immigrant professionals to thrive economically here in the United States and beyond. And our objective is that no one has to start from scratch. And we do this through a collection of uh, um, initiatives that we have put together. We have weekly expert series platforms, have monthly mixers, we have flagship events, one of which I will talk about or share more details about towards the end of this session. And so that's what we've done. We're committed to the work of empowering Africans here in the diaspora so we don't have to uh, um, do this journey by ourselves. We know it's complex, it's difficult. Sometimes it can be lonely. There's challenges that are unique to us. But the African American Collective is here to create an ecosystem. So regardless of wherever you are in your journey, as an immigrant or just being a part of the African diaspora, we have something curated for you that you can be a part of to gain and also add value. All right. That said, let's jump right into today's conversation: how we can maintain dignity as African immigrants here in the United States or here in the diaspora. Now, I want to define dignity within the context. Dignity means how you comport. It's about comportment and how you are seen, right? It's about being respected by others. It's about self worth, right? It's respect for your heritage, and that's something so important, right? We are our part of our uniqueness, part of the things that makes us different and makes us beautiful and makes us remarkable is our Africanness. Yeah, and we want to carry that well. We want to wear that well. We want to represent that powerfully, right? And so that's the conversation. So again, it can be there are certain challenges that are very unique to us. As African immigrants, there are certain things that we get to experience, and what that leads to a lot of times is people begin to shrink. People begin to, you know, devalue who they are, right? To fit in. We almost have to, yeah, shrink is the right word. We almost feel the need to adjust or conform. And there's a difference between adjusting to your new location and conforming or shrinking below who you are, right? You can make adjustments to and adapt. Adaptation is important, right? If you're not home anymore, you're in a new place, or you're in a new you have a new home now, and so there's adjustments. There are things that are different from where we're coming from, right? That's called adaptation. That's required adjustments to make to settle in properly. But that doesn't mean you lose yourself in the process. That doesn't mean you devalue yourself. That doesn't mean you shrink and hide, or reduce your God-given abilities and qualities to fit in. And that's the conversation that we um, want to have. And it starts with, and I'm diving right in. Okay, so the foundation of dignity, it starts with self. It starts with self, right? You have to have this self-awareness, and we talk about knowing who you are, right? It's important to know who you are. You're not. I would say this to myself and my very good friend who we worked together to mentor youth at the time. Would say this to our kids who are going off to college: you're not going to college to discover yourself. You already know who you are. Now you are going to a platform to give expression to that. Right. So you're here doesn't mean you're not trying to find out who you are as an immigrant. No, no, who you are is already set. Who you are is already clear. You knew who you were. Part of the decision making that brought you to this place was because of an awareness of self, right? So continuing to have that, awareness, it's important to connect your heritage, your language, our culture. Those are the things. Those are part of who we are. That's part of the essence of us, right? And so it's important that we don't forget about that. Don't we had this, there's a song back when I was growing up. I said, don't forget area, right? Don't forget that person. All of those things form the person you are, right? If there's anything anyone admires about you, or admired about you, your culture, your heritage, those things are an important part of your being, and you don't lose those because you are in a new place or you're trying to fit in. Remember, we can adapt, we can make adjustments, but we don't lose ourselves in the process. It's super important that we keep this in mind. And remember, I'm talking about maintaining your dignity as an African immigrant in just everyday life. How can we maintain our dignity? How can we carry ourselves with respect? Um, and I want to highlight at this point, um, we are, especially if you uprooted yourself from your roots and found yourself in a new location, here in the US or somewhere else, we've built, life has taught us resilience. If there's any quality that is consistent across the board, it's been resilience. It's been tough. It's been, malleable to circumstances and adjustments, and your thriving in a new environment. And we wonder, okay, like we're so resilient, we're able to just figure it out and go. And that's a blessing. That's a gift, right? And this is powerful. It's not a weakness, it's a gift, it's a strength, right? And you have to continue to leverage that strength to and use that as a platform or a way to advocate for yourself, right? I mean, it's you. Your voice is powerful. We always say this to my kids and tell them your voice is powerful. Speak up, right? Don't let anybody take what is legally or rightfully yours. If there's opportunities, don't get passed on because you're shrinking. Don't get passed on for opportunities. Don't let somebody else take credit for your work because you just want to, as long as my paycheck is clearing or something, and then I'm fine with it. No, we have to advocate. We have to become our first self advocates, right? You can't be that for somebody else if you're not doing that for yourself first, right? So, it's important that we begin to advocate for ourselves in our personal spaces, in professional spaces, in the world in general. We're talking again about how we can maintain or promote dignity in our daily life. And it starts with being an advocate for yourself, right? Leverage that resilience that we already have. And like, what's going to happen? Speak up and say, no, that's not okay. Or yeah, that's my work. Own it. Own your greatness. Own your intelligence. Own your excellence, right? Own your Africanness. It's who you are. You sound the way you sound. Yes, as you're delivering value, and that's what that matters. You're not a nuisance to society. You are bringing value to your place of work. You're bringing value to your team. You're bringing value to that organization. You're bringing value to your staff. You're an employer of labor. You're doing something. You're contributing to society meaningfully, positively. Carry yourself as such. Don't let anything make you feel less. Have that authority in your voice to say, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I do. I'm good at what I do. It's okay to have that level of, confidence when it comes to just self advocacy. And I want to also address something else, and that is overcoming, internalized stereotypes, right? It's very, we need to get to a place where we are challenging and deconstructing negative stereotypes that may have been internalized, right? Again, you have to you have to know your worth. And so when people have preconceived notions, if you don't intentionally say this is not the case, then you are validating that for that person. Certain people believe certain things, and it's because of you know level of exposure they have, right? People have certain ideologies, have certain expectations, have certain beliefs about where we're from. Maybe because of images, and so and or maybe even just experiences with other people. And so it's it's important that we don't accept some of these internalized stereotypes. We have to speak about, no, that's not the case. This is not the norm. Don't allow negative generalizations to continue, right, in your own realm. This is super important. It's super important that if there's any misconceptions, oh, okay, you guys are this particular way, or there might even be things that are funny or jokes. I can remember a scenario where I was in a class then, and we it was a security, info security course, information security course, and conversation around cybercrime came up, and people started making jokes about Nigerian email and Nigerian prints and all of the normal scam that comes with that. And it was funny to everybody. Now, for me, that wasn't funny, right? I'm the only Nigerian in this class, and I'm maybe, I think there was just two black people in the class, and then one African Nigerian, and we're having this whole series and the butt of the jokes for Nigerian emails. And I know so many hardworking people. Majority of the people I know, majority of the people who come to this country or even back home are very honest, hardworking people. It's been, proven time and time again that some of these things are not even from Nigeria, right? Or some of these people are not even from Nigeria. These are people masking themselves and taking on this persona, um, and all of that because it's worked, I guess, and it continues to work. And I got a chance to do a presentation in that same class. And my first line was I had to call that out and let them like, hey, you can't let the actions of a few people define the identity of a nation or a whole people. The actions of a few cannot define who we are. We are not those people. We are hardworking. We are honest, intelligent people, and it's about again owning, not allowing wrong narratives to continue. Right when we talk about dignity in their daily life, that is a very it's super important that we pay attention to things like this and not allow certain misconceptions to continue, um, certain things, stereotypes, like just all these internal preconceived notions that people might have. It's important to, when they come up, if you don't resist them, you will start to believe them, right? You will start to accept them. It becomes, yeah, and then somehow you begin to fall into or begin to live out these things that people, because the more people say this and you don't reject it and you don't, and I know I'm sounding very spiritual, but it's important. If you don't push back and stand up for like, no, this is not the truth, this is very inaccurate, if you don't speak up for the state of things, there's so many examples come to mind that I can't even get into. I'm trying to keep this on a certain time frame, but you've experienced, if if you're African here in the US, you've experienced some form of like, okay, I don't know where you got that from, but that is so wrong. So again, I'll blame a lot of it on Hollywood, but you get what I'm trying to say. So fighting off and overcoming those internalized stereotypes is important, right? Now I want to talk about how do we project dignity in our daily interactions, right? So I started with knowing our words and not allowing certain things, not absorbing negativity and absorbing negative stereotypes, right? Um, Now it's how do we give expression to that every day? All right, so I'll start with that external dignity, the external part, and that's within your community, at your place of business, at your place of work. It's how do we maintain this at work, right? If you have an idea, I'll start with be confident. Again, your voice is powerful. We are very smart most of the time. I'll use Nigeria as an example. Um, we are overeducated. We are an overeducated bunch. The average person, because, and I talked about this last week, for most of us, growing up, education was framed as the way out, right? Work hard, get your degree because that's the only way you make it. That's the only way you survive. That's the only way you become something meaningful. Everybody had to go to school. And then you go to school, and the more you realize, okay, my schooling might not be sufficient, we go to more school. That's an answer to that. It's okay when you realize, hey, the education you're gaining might not suffice to get to that level of success that you always dreamt about. Most people just, okay, I'll go get my master's. All right, I'll go to the UK. I'll go to London. I'll come to the US. I'll go to Dubai. I'll go to South Africa is for more school. So it's always our answer is more education. And so what happens is a lot of the time, by the time we get to uh, um, this, new homes that we find ourselves in the diaspora. We've wrapped up a lot of us. In fact, coming to the diaspora, we come and we get a second degree or a third degree. A lot of folks, again, their way to stay is to keep going to school. It's almost like school is it's a safe place. It's a comfort zone almost. Um, where am I going with all of this? The average, amongst us, it's a college degree is almost like the least. And that's why our children, we shove it down their throats. You're going to school. We're not listening to another conversation. We don't care. Yes, it's different. That you can. No, we don't care. You're getting that degree. If you like, don't use it. But get the degree first. Or get the second one. Right. So you're already you're already qualified, overqualified in some cases, right? So speak like that. Speak as somebody who is credible. You've earned the right to speak up. You've earned the right to share your ideas. You've earned the right to share your opinions. You've been trained, you have been equipped, you've gone through several tiers of education. We are even beyond the degree programs and formal degrees. We love certifications. We love anything paper, all right? Any paper. So when you're speaking, speak. If you're speaking at work, you're sharing ideas. Um, do it with confidence. Do it with confidence. Do it with confidence and with clarity. Like own your voice. Right. That's the first one. We're talking about dignity in the workplace. When you show up correct. I know this is not always a problem, but I need to reemphasize this. Uh, uh, People see you before they hear you. And I know we're in the era of, be yourself and, the dressing or listen, it might not have, it's important how we appear. If it's a formal meeting, show up formally. If you're going to meet with executives, give them the respect of dressing up for the occasion. It is better to show up and be overdressed than to be under to look. Again, it shows preparation. I've been to a couple of interviews in the past, and I ended up getting the job several years ago with a company, and I showed up. It was a Friday. The interview was on a Friday. Interview Friday morning. Um, and I show up, and I was wearing a suit and a tie, dressed, had my documents, everything, and I walk in and it's a dress down day for them. When the CTO came to welcome me and meet me and, take me to have that my interview, he was so impressed. He was like, man, people don't do this anymore. People don't dress up. You wore a tie. It blew his mind that I wore a tie. But for me, I'm showing up because I respect I want to show up and show them I came prepared. You know, was I overdressed that day? Yes, but they'll remember this guy who came prepared, and then I delivered on my interview. I ended up getting the job. Like I came prepared, both mentally but also physically. Right, show up the right way. I remember another situation like that to another, Fortune 500 company that I consulted for. Again, I came in, their environment is pure dress down, but I showed up suit, tie, sharp, and you couldn't forget me. And then I knew what I was talking about again. That is how you show up. That is how you represent the culture. That is how you, maintain dignity. Like even if, let's say, you're not selected or your people remember, man, thank you for showing up and showing up prepared, right? Let there be preparation. How you appear, leave an impression in your dress. And I'm not saying be flamboyant, always wear suits. No, look at what the occasion requires and make sure you are showing up correctly, right? Let's not be careless about it. If you're going for a meeting, show up correctly. If you're meeting with the executives, show up correctly. If you're having a meeting with peers, colleagues, show up correctly. Let them see you and know you took this seriously. You took time to prepare for this. That is very, very important. All right. So Our dressing, I talked about dressing. It's reflecting your personal style, all of that. How you carry yourself. Talking about dignity in community and social spaces, right? Community is powerful, right? And it's community is powerful in this country, especially your network is everything. Someone says your network is your net worth. A lot of doors open to you based on who you know. And yes, it's the same. Where I grew up in the eastern part of Nigeria, I'm Igbo. We would say Imam, like you, who you know. It's so powerful, and it's something we have to intentionally cultivate. But one way to do that is how you show up, how you show up for these conversations, how you show up for the conversations, how you not just show up, but how you prepare. Um, Showing up is in terms of preparation and clarity in conversation. So building strong connections with other immigrants, other allies, people who are affiliated to who believe in what we're doing, other professionals, not beyond the immigrants, beyond immigrant circles, right? Other people, you work with, colleagues, allies, friends, these are your support system, employers, be involved, engaged, participate, right? Uh, um, in the community where you live, in the HOA meetings, in school boards, are you showing up? And are you participating? Because this is your own, ecosystem. This is how you evolve your ecosystem and give yourself credibility, make yourself a relevant voice in that space, in that realm. Add value, but also show, when we talk about maintaining dignity. Uh, um, that is how you do it, right? You're talking about promoting dignity in our personal lives. It's about in our community spaces, in our social spaces, how we carry ourselves, how we comport ourselves. Even if you're out in social gatherings and hanging out with friends, again, drinks or no drinks, how you carry yourself matters. You will leave an impression. It leaves an impression in the mind of somebody. You don't know who is in that gathering. So there has to be a conscious awareness when it comes to, like, I will always carry myself with dignity. I will always carry myself, honorably. I'm representing beyond what I represent is beyond me. It's beyond just me as an individual. It's a community. It's a family. It is a brand. It's an organization. It's a whole culture. It's a people. That's what you represent everywhere you are. People are going to form opinions about Black people, about Africans, about us, based on your comportment in their space. They may never get to talk to another person, right, who comes from where you come from. And so they will form their opinions about that whole people based on their interactions with you. Right. So I think that some people advance in their thought and might be able to think beyond that. But if you are still the first impression of your people to them. And so it's important that you are aware of this and carry yourself with intention, whether in community spaces and social spaces. Another area where people get to lose themselves is in confrontational scenarios, in uncomfortable conversations, in you know where there's some, like, call it micromanagement, where there's aggressiveness, disagreements, all of that. So how do you navigate some of those situations? Uh, um, Discrimination. How do you deal with it? Again, whether it's discrimination, preconceived notions that you have to fight back on, and I've talked about and addressed this earlier. Um, your approach again is gracefully educate, gracefully educate, right? You're not going to accomplish anything by aggressive response. You probably feed more into the stereotype. You probably feed more into that negative narrative by overreacting, by uh, um, handling it certain ways. And so uh, some people just need to know better to do better. And so help them know better, right? Again, graceful education, graceful communication. Uh, um, that's one. And then sometimes you have to for people crossing the lines, in terms of aggressive behavior, clear boundaries, set boundaries. At work, let there be boundaries. Within social circles, let there be boundaries. Uh, um, Even amongst family, let there be clearly defined boundaries. Okay, sometimes you have like, hey, listen, I respect, but you know what? We're not going to talk about this. I will not let you cross these lines anymore. So this is where it stops, right? Draw these lines, be very clear about it, right? Don't let people get away with ignorance, with doing stuff, with, you know, condescending behavior and attitude. No, don't excuse that. Don't allow that. So in cases where people are, you can educate, do that gracefully. In cases where people don't want to learn and will not change, clear boundaries, right? And follow it up accordingly with if there's authorities that we can bring these, escalate these things to, go for it. Go for it. Again, you are representing beyond yourself. Uh, um, but you have to know when to disengage for your own well-being. Right? I did a series a few weeks ago that talked about mental health, African immigrants and how we deal with mental health. And it's a conversation we don't always have, but it's an important conversation. And it affects us and we deal with it a lot. And so if anything is beginning to affect you in that way, then you need to adjust yourself accordingly, know when to remove yourself from certain situations. If it's getting to a point of aggression where it's gonna get into a point where it's beginning to affect you negatively, know when to remove yourself from those things. All right. Yeah, and yeah, so as I kind of start circling the wagons to wrap this up, I want to talk about the collective power of dignity, right? And I'll start with the collective advocacy and representation. We have to collectively, it is so important to elevate African voices, right? It's important to seek out and support platforms, you know, that amplify African voices, African stories, and there's a few organizations like that. I mentioned earlier, I lead the African American Collective, and all we're doing is creating a platform and an ecosystem for Africans to thrive. We are doing it, telling our stories, highlighting professionals within our circles who are giving back, training others, right? Connect yourself to organizations like this and be a part of elevating our voice, right? So that when people look us up, when people they see Africans doing great things, they see Africans contributing to the society, contributing to the economy, bringing value. In the end, that's how you are. That's how you will show appreciation. So, but you have to we have to be involved in elevating, our own voices, elevating African voices, be in the right community. Again, this is not a plug for African American Collective, but it is. Join the collective. It's free to join. Get on our platform. Send us a message on LinkedIn since it's on LinkedIn, and find out how you can join the community. We'll send you our links to sign up and be a part of our community where and you can see what we do firsthand. Uh, um, Another way we can, collectively amplify our, dignity for the African community is, mentorship, paying it forward, right? Become a mentor or submit to mentorship, right? Become a mentee. It's so powerful to empower the next one, right? You've gone through a journey. Now you're once you've gone through something, you are eligible to help the person coming behind you. Someone will ask, what are the requirements to be a mentor? What qualifies me to be, say, I can do something for somebody else? Well, be one or two steps ahead of the person and you are qualified to help them. You're qualified to, help them in their journey. Right? Reach back out and bring somebody back up. Right? Don't build a wall, build a bridge. Let the next person come in after you have an easier experience because of you. Let your journey, let your experience, let it be. Because again, we're talking about maintaining our dignity collectively. It is by us helping us. It is by us lifting us. It's by us supporting us. Is that making sense, right? So that is how we thrive beyond borders. It's not you've attained a level of success. Who else is going to step on that bridge? What bridges are you building? What ladders are you, putting back down so that others can climb up those rungs and have an easier ride to get up? Because again, there's so much room at the top. There's enough cloud for us to fly. Um, right. So be a mentor again. If you want to do it in a more formal, structured way, we have our you know, we have our experts, facilitators group within the collective, and these are people who have raised their hands and said, we want to be a part of the solution. We want to share from our wealth of experience and help other people come up. Right, that's what our experts do. We have in our weekly expert series, that's like our masterclass series. What we do is we have professionals from within the community who are coming and sharing and learning their voice from their expertise and teaching others for free, showing others this is how I got to this place. And so we have specific topics and they come talk about it. Right. This is not just interviewing them. No, it's them coming to share very specific, uh, um, very specific things from their field. Right. It's real life workshops. And people aspiring to that field or who are in and looking for information can come and learn, ask questions, engage, interact, and every one of our mentors will always share the information on. So we're seeing more continued conversations happening even beyond the sessions, right? So you can do this informally or informally, right? Within your small circle, there's somebody who is just come in and you are aware of and you can help them. Reach out and help. Offer them the chance to be of assistance, right? Without expecting anything. Be a mentor, be a bridge, right? Be a bridge builder, right? Not a wall builder. It is super, super important. So please share your own experiences on how you've been a bridge, how you've been a mentor, or any of the portions of these conversations that you can relate to, or you can uh, um that you can connect with. I'd love to hear your story. The platform I'm using to share this, again, if we're going to keep evolving this. I wish LinkedIn had its own platform where you can share and can interact in real time, but we're going to keep evolving the technology and get to a place where we can engage. But I'd love to hear, how are you doing, how are you maintaining or promoting the dignity of the African community, starting from yourself. Again, thank you for joining me this week. I want to, before I wrap this up, October 25th, please mark that date. It's going to be our policy and advocacy conference. October 25th, it's going to be hybrid. So we'll have an in person. If you're based in Atlanta, we want you to come in person. If you're based in the Georgia area, Atlanta, please, we want you in person. If you're not, there will be a virtual option, a virtual component for everyone to be a part of it. But we want to highlight, the importance of getting involved. We want to show people how to, the different opportunities. The political climate today, requires that we are savvy in how the things work. Uh, um, Elections matter, they affect us. Policies matter, they affect us. And so we need to be actively and intentionally involved in policy making and all of that. So please mark that date. Again, follow us on all of our platforms and stay in touch, stay connected to the things that we are doing.